Hello class, my name is Daniel Glazer and I'm your instructor for this Summer 1 class in Business and Society. In this session, on this video, we're going to discuss at the very beginning what's expected of you in as far as activities, what will be graded, and then we'll get into the lecture. Now on this slide right here, you'll see that we're talking about starting first with learning, and what you will be doing is reading the textbook, watching these lectures on YouTube, and looking at PowerPoints. And if there's anything else, you can email me or you can ask Google or Bing. There's a lot of useful information on the internet. The next thing you'll need to do is, after you've read your text well, is to take the quiz. And they're going to be available anywhere from 2 days, say like from Tuesday to Thursday. And they're going to be closed at about 2 p.m. on Thursday, or you'll have up to 5 days if it's between from Thursday until the following Tuesday. And again, they'll be closed at 2 p.m. On Tuesday. Anyway, you'll have 15 minutes to take the quiz, and you can take it twice. The highest grade will count. There will be no makeups for these quizzes. If you miss it, just go on, get ready for the next one. Now, I'd suggest that you use a reliable Ethernet-based internet connection. Avoid using a quirky or strange Wi-Fi, and if your device isn't very good, don't do that, because if you miss it, there is no makeup. We have online discussions also, and these are in Blackboards. Maybe you might call it posting. And what you'll do is that you'll post a substantive, and you can read in your syllabus as to what substantive means, discussion comment, and one critique or response comment for each chapter assignment on Blackboard. In other words, you post something or say something on the discussion board, and you need to also take a look at what other people have said in class and reply to what they're saying. Now, the chapter assignments, there are assignments in each chapter area on Blackboard. You download the sheet, and it's repeated time after time. It's the same thing. So actually, I have them also listed that you'll see that it's a page such and such, question such and such. What you'll do is that you'll restate the question, answer it, upload it, both as a file, and also cut and paste it into the upload portal area. I will get around to grading these. Finally, the exams will be taken online. I haven't put them up there yet, but they'll be there, and you'll see the dates for your exams on your syllabus. Now let's get into an introduction to business and society in Chapter 1. We are, in the United States, a pluralistic society, that we have people from many walks of life, and we have equal rights. We're all equal. And it's interesting, you'll notice on the coins that we have and bills, it says e pluribus unum, which means that that we are made out of many, we become one as a nation. What are the strengths? Well, is that we don't have a concentration of power. It is distributed among the population. And we have freedom of expression and action as long as we don't hurt others. We don't have individual alliances to a tribe or to a family only or to just our religion. We have multiple groups that we belong to, and we have allegiances that are not that strong as would be expected in some other societies. And we have different loyalties, and we have checks and balances on what happens and what can happen. But what are some of the weaknesses? Well, there's a pursuit of self-interest, that we are doing what we want to do for us and maybe not look out for others. Is that we have lots of organizations, and the goals of each of these organizations overlap. And it forces conflicts, is what it does sometimes when we want something very badly and we need to see, well, can we actually do it? And yes, there is inefficiency. But you know what? I don't think that we want the alternatives. We've already tried them under, say, the Soviet Union and other totalitarian regimes. Well, In our course, we have business right at the center, and it is related to basically the community, to the government, employees, consumers, and owners. These relationships are stakeholder relationships between business and these other outer areas. And then further out, you'll see general public, environmental groups, local, state, and federal government, unions, older employees. There's just a whole list of subgroups or stakeholder relationships. This is what our course is about, is the nature of these relationships. Now, special interest society, that's who we are, makes life more complex for business and government of what you can and what you can't do. And these special interest groups number in the tens of thousands. We have PETA, we have the ACLU, we have the NRA, and the list could go on, and they're from so many different parts of life. And they have their own agenda of what they want to accomplish. If they exist, it's likely that they're very active, intense, diverse, and focused on what they're doing. And sometimes they have a very significant following. Sometimes they work at cross purposes. You will find the ACLU on one side of an argument and another organization on another. For example, in the abortion rights fights, you're going to see that there are people or groups that are for abortion and those that are against it. Now, in this chart here, we see that, starting at the top, that in our society that people are earning money, they're affluent, they feel they have an influence. There's a level of education, and there's awareness. They know of what their rights are. And as you move down in that chart on the left-hand side, it says rising expectations lead to entitlement mentality. People feel that they're entitled, that something is due to them, for example, I want my space, or I am entitled to a 40-hour work week. There's so many different things that or expectations that we have. And so what that leads to is a rights movement, some organization, and one of the fallouts from that is that there might be a victimization philosophy, is that I didn't get what I wanted, therefore I am a victim. And what that translates down to in the bottom part of the chart is that there's criticism of business oftentimes, and that can lead to increased concern for societal environment and maybe a changed social contract. This here is a model that the authors have come up with that pretty well illustrates what's going on in, or it's the purview, the area that we have in business and society, our course. Now this chart is very easy to understand, is that from the 1960s to the 2000s to where we are now, the bottom dark, white line, that's not at the very bottom of the timeline, but where it says that business actual social performance, what we have expected from business, what they have actually done, and the upper line that's further inclined, rising upwards, is talking about society's expectations. And we have a gap that's called a social problem, that we say at the very top, this is what we expect of business, and yet this is how far they've gone, and we have a gap. And that gap creates problems. And that gap has to be resolved one way or another. And that's part of the discussion of this whole course. Now, businesses do have power, is that they have, especially if they're very large, or there's a whole industry and they act together, is that they have the ability or capacity to produce an effect or to bring influence on what happens in society. And there is this iron law of responsibility discussed by the authors, which more or less propagates the idea that in the long run, those who do not use power in a manner society considers responsible will tend to lose it. So if you have power, use it wisely. Otherwise, it's gone. Now in this social contract on the left-hand side, we have a box where it says business. Then on the right-hand side, we have society or societal stakeholder groups. And we have what are called in the middle the rules of the game. And the rules of the game are changing. The Supreme Court changes them, and the legislators change them, and businesses sometimes try to change the rules of the game. We have a two-way shared understanding of each other. And by the way, some of the rules are written, some of them are unwritten. If an unwritten rule becomes an issue, it will become written or formalized. Here we get into the whole notion about the rules, the nature of the rules. We talk about ethics. We talk about what's right, what's wrong, what's fair, is there justice, and so on. And again, these are moving targets. Sometimes what used to be right later may become wrong. What used to be fair may not later be fair. And finally, at the bottom, or the second box, is that we take these ethics and we have grouped them, because there's lots of different ethics through life. Family ethics, there's religious ethics, and so on. But we're talking about business ethics. And it focuses on ethical issues that arise in the commercial realm whenever we pay for a service, and we have expectations of what happens. Also, what that company does may be polluting the environment and so on. That is all part of the commercial realm. Finally, we take a look at you and I. We're stakeholders. We're individuals, and when we come together, we become groups, and businesses interact with us, and we have a vested or an interest in the way that the firm behaves. There are external stakeholders like customers and competitors, the government, and so on, and there are internal stakeholders. Those are largely employees, owners, managers, and as such.